Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Wasting Time with Sir Isla. Today we are going to talk about two types of cultures, and those are the high context culture and low context culture. First one is high context culture. In this kind of culture, spoken words are much less important than the rest of the context. For example, we can say that the relationship between two people is more important than what they are communicating with each other. In this type of culture, relationships are built slowly and they depend on trust. And when we talk about productivity, it also depends on the relationship of those people, or between or among those people. And we can also say that individual identities is rooted within one group, and social structures and authorities are often centralized. The best example of this type of culture is the Filipino culture. Interactions in this type of culture is often non-verbal. Non-verbal communication or elements is important. Communication, verbal messages are transmitted indirectly. Communication is seen as an art form, or it's a way of engaging someone. And most of the times when we have disagreement with one another, it's always personalized. Person sensitive to conflict expressed in someone else's non-verbal communication. So it means that if we are in agreement with someone else, most of the times we are not going to express that verbally, rather we are going to express that in an indirect manner, or it can be reflected in our actions. And when we talk about time, we say that everything has its own time. And time is not easily scheduled. Just an example of this is of course the Filipino time, and also we deem change as slow, and time is the process that belongs to other, and we cannot hold that. When we talk about space, we look at space in a communal manner. People, we tend to stand close to each other, and we tend to stand closer to the people that we associate with. When we talk about learning, we get our information from multiple sources, and the way we think is by thinking from general to specific. If it can be applied in general, it can also be applied in any specific conditions. And we observe others. We observe others as their model or demonstrate, and then we practice those what we observe. In this type of context, groups are always preferred than being alone. Let's talk about low context society or low context cultures. In the low context society or culture, the message itself means everything, which in contrast with the high context culture, in the high context culture, we value the relationship more than the words that we say. In the low context culture, they value the words that they say more than the relationship itself. This type of culture, it's much more important to have a well-structured argument or a well-delivered presentation rather than thinking of what the other people is going to think about your idea. People from this culture tend to try to separate the relationship that they have with the people that they are talking to from the message. It's important to them to express the message that they have instead of thinking about who they are talking with. The best example for this type of culture is the American culture, because as you can see, they are okay with arguing with their parents. It's because it's more important for them to deliver the argument that they have rather than thinking of who they are arguing with, which is in a direct contrast with the Filipino culture, in our culture, if you're going to start an argument with your parents, then all hell would break loose. And people in this culture focus on the details and the logic of their arguments, not on the feelings of the person that they are talking with. And detailed information must be given to provide relevant context. In this culture, relationships begin and end quickly, and identity of an individual is rooted in themselves rather than in groups of people. Identity of an individual is rooted also in their accomplishment, in their own accomplishments. Social structure is decentralized, and verbal messages are explicitly expressed. And for their culture, space is compartmentalized. Privacy is also important, and people tend to stand further apart from each other. Events and tasks are also scheduled, so a schedule for them is important, and it is to be done in a specific or particular time. For example, if they are going to meet with each other, say 10 o'clock in the morning, then they should follow the schedule that they have. Change is fast for them, and time is gold. Time is a commodity, it is a resource, so it should not be wasted. And one's time is one's own time. And the way they learn is they use one source of information. They try to learn in a specific to general way of thinking, and learning occurs by following the explicit direction and explanation of others. They do not use models. You should tell them what to do clearly in order for them to follow your instructions. And individual orientation is always preferred. They do not function in group, they function in an individual orientation. And for them, speed is everything. Speed lang. That's it for the video. Like and subscribe. If you have questions, you can shoot it below.